Hi, I'm Rael, and I'm an energy intuitive, and I channel information from our guides and ancestors to help us find empowerment, support, and to be able to really walk in our own heart space and love ourselves. I want to share with you some of the energy, information, and interpretation that I've been given so that you'll have access to information to empower yourself, to allow you to spend your energy as and where you want to, be allowed to honor ourselves, reach for support when it's needed, and to be able to get the most out of your journey and your lessons for the year, and be able to embrace who you came here to be, contributing on the planet as you are. The first thing that I want to talk about is this beautiful enhancement energy. And part of the evolution energy that we've been witnessing and being moved through over the last few years has been about releasing. If 2020 was about recognizing patterns and ways that we used to do things and being able to put our body more in a do I agree with this or not position. And then 2021 was about really bringing up the underlying things we hadn't really been able to witness in ourselves and in other people, or be able to point to and go, see, it's actually real. It's not my imagination. Now we are trying to enhance that evolution with layers of development, innovation, and love. So this year we're going to be putting together many more systems of support and helping one another within our boundaries. One of the more positive ways that I have seen this manifestation displayed to me has been that we're going to be serving as who we are to the community. That means we're going to get to do for our jobs and our families, for our creativity, more of what brings us joy. In the workspace, it's much more about being aligned with being with people who share our values, but also using the skill set that we enjoy the most rather than what we thought we should be. The example that they gave me was looking at retraining and potentially considering what this really means to you. In the old energy where things were done the hard way because there was a win and a loss involved, we might have said, hey, I think I want to be an architect. And then either did train and went and did it and it wasn't quite what we thought it was, because how do you know? Or didn't train and now we regret that and are considering retraining. So using that one example of being an architect in the old energy, in the new energy, they're going to ask us to say, what piece of that am I after? Do I want to work in an office? Is that why I want to do this? Do I like drawing? Do I like houses? Do I like the word? Does it sound important? Some people want to be a doctor or a lawyer because it's important, or because they believe it will be valuable, or because that is what somebody's told them to do. So now we have a look at those pieces, the individual talents involved. Well, for me, it resonates much more about which piece of my personality, the way my brain works, what brings me joy, am I hoping to find if I was to retrain into this? Because we're not meant to work as hard as we've been told. Work should be contribution. It should be maybe joyous, but definitely not against our nature. We're here to serve, to contribute, to be part of something. So in the architect analogy, was it the drawing that gave you joy? Do you want to be a draftsman instead? Do you want to be an artist? Do you want to go and design buildings or kitchens? Do you want to move into interior design? Do you like homing people? What about property management? Or creating houses, or buying and selling, or real estate? Can you see how it's actually shifting away from what the topic, the identity was, into what would you like to be doing? Where would you put your body? What would bring you joy? So the more that we are moving into these realms of putting our body where we want them to be, and being in an environment that matches the way our brains and personality work, which aligns with our heart journey, right? The more we are contributing with ease, we're not working as hard because it's native to us and doesn't feel like work because we love it, and we're not stressed and losing sleep at night because we're good at it. And then there's boundaries, of course. Part of the shift into contributing as you are is the rebalance energy of being around people who want who you are, so that you're again working in workplaces that honor you, that are capable of looking after you, but that have people more like you around you, obvious to you. In the harder old energy, we've certainly seen a massive shift in being in jobs that don't resonate, working for people that don't resonate, not being looked after or supported, or finding that even in jobs where you might have been really well supported, that's still not where you want to put your body, that you've found over the last 2 years, this isn't going to work for you. We're reaching for joy, and we're reaching for those things that really tell us what we came here to do. And you could do this as an activity. You could go onto the career websites and do their little tests and see what comes up as a list of things. You could go to an astrologer and look at your 10th house or look at your career. So there's lots of ways that you could narrow it down outside of an energy process as well. But really having a look at what your personality says. The science will support it. You've got your psychometric testing. This will also tell you a lot about your personality. Reach for these innovations. This is 20 years of research. These tools are useful. They can't pigeonhole you because you're still going to choose what you're going to do, but you're more likely to contribute willingly, happily, if you're in the right lane. Last year was very much about finding out who you were, and we had an amazing shift into recognizing what you actually think and believe. I understand it came through in a lot of division energy. This is important because it simply meant that everybody took an absolute side in most cases, and that was intentional. That was planned and by design so that we absolutely paid attention to what we think and feel. The purpose was not agreement. And this year, we're going to find that that deepens as well. And the recognition of people having different ideas and opinions will become a lot more respected. The idea that there are divisions was not the purpose of the energy exercise that we were given last year. It was just building the muscle of choosing and listening to your intuition and taking your self-guidance. And where you didn't, the consequences of following somebody else's advice. Now we're moving into, is this right by me? Great. Is that right by them? Equally great. No longer are we trying to convince people to come to our belief system. In the gentle version, this is going to look like, I like Brussels sprouts, you should do this, try them, eat them 10 different ways. Why don't you see what I see? To, you don't like Brussels sprouts. I do. Neat. I'll have those, you have this. I won't cook those, or please cook some for me, don't eat them. Very simple. But let's put it into something far more emotive, something that we've been trained to react into. Let's put it into politics or religion. I have this belief system over here. I believe it, I vote for it, I fight for it, I spend my time. Time could be church, time could be voting, right? Spend my time believing and working on this. You believe the opposite. This no longer makes me question whether I've spent all that time for nothing, because some of the energy that pushes beliefs on other people is an insecurity that you might be wrong, or a concern that you don't want to have done this for nothing. So you put more energy into proving you're right. Is it because I'm passionate about it and I'd like to share that information? In which case, we should be able to have a conversation. Here's something I'm passionate about, why? Here's something I'm passionate about, why? Really respect and honor that and go, wow, I can totally see why you would be passionate about that. It still doesn't resonate with me, or maybe I'm going to take a little bit. It's not about changing people's minds. It's about listening. It's about you sharing why something is fundamental to you, not what is fundamental to you. So over this next, probably the first half of the year, we're going to have a lot more dialogue on the differences and a lot more understanding, certainly by the end of the year, that these differences aren't supposed to be homogenous. We're not all supposed to believe the same thing. Just because I like sunshine doesn't mean that you're not going to like sunshine, but it may mean that you prefer a rainy day to a snowy day. and the next person feels differently. It's not bad to have different preferences, beliefs. The values are important. Why? Why is this important to you? Sometimes it's simple. It's important to me to go to work because I want to fund my lifestyle. It's important to me to give service because I want the community to be looked after and I want to do something with this. And service can be paid work. It's not the old energy of volunteering for service. In the new version, if we're all where we're meant to be, there will be plenty of service. And places that need more energy contribution for the good of the people will have the resources for that. We're just a little ways away from that. I just needed to be sure you weren't taking that in the old energy. Oh, there's something wrong if you don't. If it resonates, do it. If you have the energy, share and contribute. If you don't, take the time to receive your regrouping and your support. But what is really exciting about how the energy is moving into being in the right place to give service, so being the right job for you, is that we're going to have more and more people moving into fields and positions and careers where their creativity comes back, where they're bringing far more to their daily offering, where their solutions will come, the systems will come, because the innovation energy is rolling along beside us for this whole decade and beyond. We're having all of that coming in. Every time we have a need, there's going to be a corresponding solution somewhere on the planet. So we're seeing that we'll be contributing more of who we are, not more energy, and creating greater outcomes, not more output. But we're also going to be surrounding ourselves with people who need us or know us. So there's more exchange energy. And that's going to bring us back into the community energy, which is for me the biggest energy of the year, is rebuilding our community platform. And what is so different about this energy is that it's with plenty of boundaries. And it's why they've led our conversation, the community energy being in our workspace, because then we go home. We disconnect. Yes, we may catch up with certain people for a coffee or in the weekend. Sometimes you do that with workmates and sometimes you don't. But you won't need to be doing that if you're feeling completely connected and coherent at work, unless you're looking for more company or to expand your friend groups. The idea is work is very fulfilling, but it's a boundary that you then come home into your personal life and you're doing your family or your intimate energy in a slightly different way. And our community energy is about, how am I communicating with this person? How are we getting our needs met within the community? Financially, politically, emotionally, elementally. What are we doing about weather when there's rain? What is the storm drains doing? So all these levels in our community now have boundaries. Do I want to come to that town meeting? Would I rather receive it in a video form? Do I need to see words? How do I like to receive my information? How do I like to participate? Can I be in front of people or around people today, or do I need to conserve my energy? Am I contributing, or am I going into isolation, because that's not the point here? Am I reaching for connection? Or am I at my limit and I don't need any more interaction today? And letting that be okay. For people to be saying to each other, I don't have the energy for that right now. Could I talk about that tomorrow? Or to a family member being able to say, I don't know why I feel uncomfortable, but I just feel like there's a boundary here that isn't where I need it to be, and not have to say personal things about each other's behaviors or mechanisms. And the other amazing community energy is again in the solutions energy, what we're asking of ourselves and each other to rebuild in a new way. So some of this will be that more will be asked of us in the community energy this year. It might be that we do need to research something political or a new kind of food source, what's really in it, checking your body, testing what do I do with that. In ancient times, this was a native, natural thing to do. You would choose a leaf, you'd put it into the corner of your mouth and see if there was a flare-up. Then you knew it was poisonous. So you would test things in your environment and learn things. We're still going to be doing that. But we are going to be asked to contribute to our community. That may look like we have more online referendums and choices politically. It may be that we get to go and get together for a school meeting or a company AGM and be allowed to go, here's 3 or 4 choices. No longer we want to do this sign here. Here are the choices. Where do you feel that sits, or what information do you need? Has the information they've given you resonated, or does it feel like propaganda? Do you have a trigger and you're like, that's not for me? There's something in there I don't agree with? Well, you're more likely to say no to the proposition because it's come through with less love energy. We are also going to be able to witness some of the closing of energies. And this again may look on the surface like something less than positive. You might see somebody as being shown for who they really are, and we get to see that, and then we feel that we've been tricked or lied to. But what we want to be doing is acknowledging that that person did their soul journey, and now they have learning because of their choices. And we did our journey, and we have learning because of our choices. But we don't want to go back into an energy of right and wrong. It's really going to be incredible how many things come our way in 2022 that we're going to be going, wow, okay, in my old energy, I might be excited or angry or upset. Now I'm going to be going, wow, I'm really excited that that has been revealed and is no longer in the baseline of what we're doing out there, or in the soul energy that we're all connected to. And allow your energy to be in the positive, celebrating the journey, rather than getting stuck in that old narrative of it's not fair, they shouldn't have, this happened, or I wish I didn't. That's part of what they're just lifting the vibration. It's lifting it from our bodies, from our consciousness, from our habits. And this year you're going to have the opportunity to recognize it when it's coming in. You're going to be standing in front of an event or a news article and being able to go, wow, okay, I can see there's a journey there. And having no loss to your physical self. It doesn't mean that we're not involved and we're not caring or we're not giving our power away. The lack of emotional response is not a negative thing. That was drama, that was reactive energy. If you have a soul deep response to something and you want to do something about it, you may also find that that energy has been dialed up this year. So for some people, it's going to be as simple as, oh yeah, that's done. Don't really have the energy to put there. And for other people, it will be, I can't do this anymore. I can't stand by and watch. I will put my energy over there and help. So that is going to mean there's going to continue to be that increase in the outside change drive. For some people, that will be at the activism scheme. Other people, it's going to be volunteering or contributing or being available for teaching, coaching, energy support work that people can book in, pay for, come to. There's a lot of ways that you're going to be called to support. It may be that in your family, you're going to be called to support one of your family members while they do quite an awareness upgrade. Or for yourself, that this is the year that you're going, I need all of my energy to be centered around my value, my nurture, my growth, and that you are aware you don't have the energy to spend in external places. This is going to be different for each of us according to our journey, so it's very important that you're checking your energy and seeing where you stand and moving with that instead of trying to put yourself where you're not meant to be this year. We're going to see the similar thing in our relationship energy, where we become far more aware of how we are relating to people in terms of who am I, who are you, and what is the benefit of this energy exchange. In the old energy, it was much more about single, not single. You're my person. Can you fulfill my needs? Are you upsetting me? Do I love you? Should we push forward with this and stay together? Should we be moving away from each other? Shoulds, have tos, ought tos, right? There was very much a structure and drama about having all of your triggers come up in a relationship and then being able to throw that back over the fence for somebody else to respond to. That's definitely the old energy of relationships. And of course, some people have been in this energy for decades. It's just new to most of us because it's rolled out for everybody. But the new relationship energy is support. I am being me. Can you stand beside me? I don't need you to do it for me. I don't need you to judge it. But I do want you to share the journey. You may choose to have people celebrate it with you. You may choose to be doing this piece of the journey on your own or be waiting for the next piece of your journey. But in the relationships this year, there's going to be an easing of the expectation that your partner is there to solve emotional energy that you carry in your program. And with all of the energy no longer being spent on an exchange that can't work because they can't solve something they can't see and don't necessarily understand, and you can't solve theirs, we're going to spend a lot less energy in the relationship space, but usefully holding space for each other, being able to say, wow, my daughter, my husband, my wife, they're having a really bad day today. Recognize that without having to then go, and now it feels like, and I've got to feel and do, and really engage in their energy that's their feeling, because you don't need to do it twice. You'll be acknowledging it, and then you'll have all of this energy available to support them, or to give them space, or to offer a boundary, or to recommend that they get support from somebody. So supporting each other, the old interdependence, whatever I do, you do, we shouldn't. This whole belief that you're moving together in one unit. We now know that deep into a relationship, people feel like they lose themselves. The new energy, and possibly the true energy, is that you're going to be you, doing you in your journey as you're always meant to be. And if you have a partner in that, then they are to enjoy you and appreciate you and see you and hold space for you. And the support will be mutual. You might need to be saying what you need to feel supported. They may need to be checking and saying to you, I can't do that today. I don't have the energy for that. Or it's not resonating with me. I'm going to try a different way. But supporting each other on the journey. So quite a shift. And for some of us, I believe that it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, that we've lost a little bit of the passion without all of that energy exchange back and forth. But as soon as you move past that, you will feel the deeper psychic linking connection, which is far more intense, quieter, but once you find it, much deeper and calming. And because it's a psychic link, your whole body relaxes more into the relationship. For some people, I know that connection, that absolute awareness of each other, is going to bring up a final realization that this is not where you're meant to be putting your body, yourself. This is actually just where you left yourself so that you didn't have to do the next piece, or didn't have to be without a relationship. So there's definitely going to be a piece here where some relationships do end because of the lack of drama and the deep psychic linking. But this linking that we're having, that increase in telepathy, it's going to continue for years and years. It's going to continue. And we're going to have more and more access to that. So there's not the beginning. We've had this available for a few years now. But I believe 2022 is going to dial that up quite extraordinarily, because we need the connection to know that we are sharing who we are authentically and receiving who they are authentically. And then we can move past all of the worry, doubts, what ifs, and get on with being present with ourselves and our people. My colleagues who channel will also be talking about the shifting in the way things have been run. And none of us want people to have fear over this. There needs to be things ending for things to be beginning. And we are having a lot of change. I do think that for certain energies, which might be highlighted as certain countries, there's definitely going to look on the surface like there's more upheaval going on. Other countries are going to be riding that energy more as a subliminal soul collective movement, where people will move forward in one kind of wave with, and now it's done like this. And now this is no longer acceptable, and now this is what we need from you. Whether it's how we're running our families or our communities, our politics, our country, our religious spaces, there will definitely be a lot of movement from how it used to be done to how it now needs to be done. And I would suggest that was more of a top-down control space moving into a bottom-up need space. And we may find that in the big corporations. We're definitely going to find in the more hierarchal places like banks and schools, governments and religious systems, where we get to go back to a more organic version of being able to be in that, to celebrate it, for it to be successful for everybody, but mostly so that it's respecting everybody. So when you are witnessing some of the events that you will see, please allow yourself the right to be able to step back from what you are being shown, to check in your body what you believe is going on and what's in it for you, your community, the collective. Then I believe it's going to be exciting rather than concerning, that you're going to see evidence on Earth of the changes that are coming. And the replacement structures aren't ready yet, so this isn't something that needs to be done overnight. They would just love for you to be aware of this without having to have fear or concern about this. People will have reactions, people will have life events and things occur if it's within their schedule to be done this year, not because of a government or a financial regime or a medical thing going on. And a lot of what they're asking of us in 2022 is to be respecting the journey for ourselves, for the people around us. And it makes it much more powerful, moment to moment, being present when the person in front of you is happy and you can just understand that that's the joy that they are meant to be experiencing. Or going through a learning moment and realizing that when they come to the realization of who they are or where they're meant to be, it will be a wonderful lesson. I do see a lot of background energy. Like there's a lot of activity in the background going on. For some people, I do believe they're finishing off the last of their agenda energy. So it will look like there's people in the background maybe scurrying around and trying a few things, still a bit in the old energy to get what they want in spite of other people. Again, they're suggesting we don't give that too much energy because the people who are activated to follow it will find it, expose it, release it. The rest of us are allowed to understand that the background energy is on all levels, including some really beautiful things, our healing innovations being found. Some of these technology solutions that are being downloaded to so many people as they're becoming aware, that we're going to have as many incredible new things as we are going to be releasing some of those old things. The changes in our physiology will be quite well received. And one of the things that I've watched over the last few years is the level of tension that we had from the 80s, and then in the 90s, the level of locking down of our energy within our bodies. So there was a different kind of low level going on. Then we had the 2000s, and this came up more as a who are we meant to be, and are you following the energy, which also might have been manifested as do what you came here to do and be more directed, but certainly more self-aware. And the last decade has been about what are our emotional truths. So we've spent a lot of energy in the last couple of years feeling emotions that we haven't wanted to feel, or having the anxiety levels increase as the vibration increases, because anything that doesn't resonate with us has to go. And therefore, if it's not good for us, or if it's something that we're saying or doing to ourselves, or something that is in the environment happening to us, that we're no longer tolerant of this or perpetrating that story to ourselves. Another energy that is very exciting is the limitlessness, the lack of boundaries for what we can create and co-create and manifest together. This is going to play out in simple ways, which will be our manifestation, also in the bigger versions of solutions and things coming on to the planet and coming into our awareness and into the public arena that we weren't thinking were going to be possible for many, many years. Some of it again will be innovation, but some of it will be about that community spirit that is rising, where we just now know what is okay and what is not okay, and there is no version of tolerance for what is not okay. Our tolerance is spent on other people believing in their truth. So I would suggest that one of the greatest tools we're going to have energetically is moving our manifestation from what we think it should be like to what the best feeling we'll be having. Some of this is because the control energy is so low vibrational that it makes it quite difficult for you to get a full and easy manifestation. So if you think it should be like this, this, and this because of this, this, and this, you've really narrowed your manifestation down very, very small. You know, like you might think the best thing for my child will be if they get into this university. The best thing for their soul journey may not be that. We don't know. The best thing for them to do is to eat broccoli. Well, maybe they're going to have a sulfate allergy. We don't know. Rather than investing our energy trying to direct what we think the best outcome is for somebody, the best thing for me is for me to get that job I've applied for. Your guides will know if that's the best thing for you, and then it will come to pass. Your higher self is driving this bus. You're already going where you're meant to be, and being distracted by what you think it should look like is a waste of your energy. So were you to open those manifestations into what you would like to feel more, or spend your time journaling or going through a series of exercises or counseling or speaking with your friends, and starting to acknowledge what you really want to feel and why, or what brings you love and support. And again, we've got plenty of research available already done on personalities, on relationship styles. Go and have a look. Find out more about who you are, and let people who have already spent years experiencing and researching show you what they've learned. Take what resonates. You do not reinvent the wheel. Instead, let that energy be on the self-responsibility. What am I thinking and feeling? Why am I behaving like this? What do I need from other people? Be specific. Were you to do love language, for instance, you would learn whether you need to receive from people gifts, time, touch, words. You'd be more aware of what works for you and less resistant to how people have tried to show you love and care in the past, because you're now going to be receiving in a way that you can receive it, that won't be able to be written off by the story that you tell yourself that you weren't worth having, or they didn't love you enough because they didn't give it to you in a way that you could receive it. You talk to me about changes in the weather. This is not a political conversation like climate change. This is simply an observation that things are changing. You're going to witness them when you look up. So for some people, that will mean that the sky is a different hue. This can happen for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's the time of year and the humidity or the pollen comes through. It could have been, certainly in the industrial era, about smoke and smog, and some of that coming through. But it's also going to be about a vibrational change. As the vibration gets finer, the energy in the air also gets finer. So there will be changes. And many of these will be wonderful, interesting points of our evolution. But some of them will be different and you will feel uncomfortable. Again, they tell you this so that you're aware of it and you don't carry fear. That if you are out and about and the clouds suddenly look closer or denser or softer than you're used to, that you are instead able to remind yourself that something in the atmosphere has manifested in the new vibration, and that's really exciting. There is more life energy, so you're going to find perhaps your plants are growing faster, or your weeds, and that the animals have got much more of the heartbeat of nature coming back. So there ought to be more animal life, more noise, more life coming from nature this year. Again, some of us will be called into an activist energy where they want to protect a piece of nature, or there's something special that they would like to maybe learn or research plant law, or go into biology and learn how to save a certain species of tree, or protect animals that might have been close to extinction. So sometimes you're going to be called into that. But most of the time, because it's part of your soul journey, because it's part of what you're here for, you're going to be able to experience it as evidence that we're moving into these higher energies and that the world is catching up with where your heart knew you were meant to be. It's one of the reasons that the last few decades have felt a bit dense and heavy, because we always knew we were supposed to have a much nicer time together, and it's instead been spent on those old energy connections and relationships being recognized and released. But do look to the weather so that you will have your evidence that we're moving faster and faster into this new evolution point. And if you do see that it's raining in a time that your country doesn't have rain, or that you're finding the earth is moving in a way that feels new to you, again, they want you to recognize that this is nature's way of bringing that beautiful heart energy out into the planet so that we can experience it. It is not Mother Nature turning on us. It's definitely about her being received by us and us being able to access it, and just a little bit of real evidence. But I'm seeing some of it will be more in the electrical energy. So there's, if it was, say, a lightning storm, or there were more glowworms this year, or static electricity. So if there's dampness, that power might, haze in and out briefly. I am definitely seeing it as a slight disruption energy, but not as in havoc, just as an awareness that needs some notice and some action. What it will mean is that our response to that is also going to be part of the solution. So if it was electrical, then the response team would go out and they would fix or ground, or maybe even rebuild some of the systems that have worn out, with innovation, with protection from the elements, or with a new way of doing things. If it was going to be more about the density in the air, because I'm definitely seeing our air changing, we do want to have an awareness that if we were breathing in the depth of this change in air, what's that mean about our physiology? Does that mean we need more oxygen or more humidity? Or does that mean that we are being asked to learn to breathe in a different way? So our breath, our oxygen, our environment, this is going to have the subtlest little change. And it is, again, part of our evolution. It's part of us becoming aware of how our physiology really works. And a lot of knowledge and information coming through about this year, and obviously into the future. There will be a lot more people connecting. So you will find there's a lot more people looking for information, teaching, training, and a lot more people speaking from channel or talking about things that you may never have thought about or been aware of in the past. Many more people coming more aware of their connection and gifts. But people who have already been aware and have been spending their last few years learning about boundaries and grounding and cleansing and honing that connection so they still have their own power, they don't give it away for other people's needs or belief systems, that these channels are going to be interesting and remarkable and bring through extraordinary support. All you need to do is check whether it resonates. So for sometimes you're going to be maybe on YouTube or reading a book or going to a course. Before you even push play or drive to the course or purchase the book, just check your body. What's your body doing? How will this affect your body when you do this activity? Because your body will tell you what's coming. It gives you the intuitive preemption. And then you'll know if it's for you, and you don't need to judge it, make it right or wrong, argue it with another person. You just have your truth and it's absolute. Then you proceed or you don't proceed, or you have a look at why and maybe put some new boundaries in place. Knowledge that we have not had on this planet for thousands of years is definitely coming back. It's coming back to all of us. We all have access to it. But I do think there are some very special people out there who have been doing this already that will become known publicly. We will have access to this amazing support and guidance that they can bring, and a very different perspective. So it may be that they move into old laws like plant law and into the more pagan energy. It might be that they bring through galactic information or Egyptian, or there will be different ways that this comes in, and you will take what resonates with you. The ease with which we can receive their information will be related to their grounding and their spiritual practices, of course. And that makes it much easier to receive information without impact. And I'm seeing a lot of fun. So the play that we've been missing, the joy, the foolishness perhaps, the lack of inhibition in expressing who we are, not in taking over other people's spaces and being outrageous. Just being able to laugh and to smile and to cry and to be able to say, wow, I feel really anxious at the minute. Can I have a moment? Instead of coping. So many pieces of who we are as emotional beings are going to be moving through us in a way that we're not going to be able to suppress them, which we don't want to do because it leads to reactivity. But we also don't have to hide them. We can simply acknowledge them and be grounding and be strong and be resilient for sure. But we're not really looking at it as a coping mechanism. We're looking at more as the flame growing bigger. You know, that when oxygen pushes a flame, that resilience might move it for a second, but it actually feeds it. So it will help us bloom. I really do see that as part of the community as well. When we're connecting to our tribe, when we're around people who like what we like or speak our language or their personalities and minds match ours, it's so much easier to be ourselves, and we're more likely to just relax and have fun. And fun is different for each person, each moment, each age group, each energy source. For some, their fun will be being in amongst the trees, hands in the soil. For other people, it might be eating and being together and laughing. Some people, it's going to be music. Other people, it will be mental activities like sharing an interest, like sci-fi interest, or bird watching or chess. It'll be more about where that takes you. For others, it's about being physical together, and that could be hugging, it can be dancing, it could be trekking, mountain climbing, building, painting events. It will be where you want to put your body, but the play and the fun is very much about interacting with people. If you've spent the last few years not interacting with people, it's an opportunity for you to start looking actively for where to put yourself. Might be in the actual physical where you're going into clubs and groups. It might be through the Facebook and YouTube connections or local community groups, or it could even be support groups for us for PTSD, anxiety, alcoholism, gambling, all of these things that show us that we need to be allowed to feel safe. So reaching for support people who know what we've been through, or in the positive, people who are supporting us going through things like when we have children and we join a mother's group and it helps us learn more about what's going on, or you join a club and maybe a knitting group or an abseiling group, and they teach you the steps, all of the craft, all the skills, all of the tools, and you learn this going together. An adjustment. The adjustment appears to be in your belief or expectations. The example is if you have always wanted a boat, right? You feel like you want a boat or anything like that. And you go through that process of, now, if I had that, what would I feel? What is it I want to feel? Might be freedom, might be isolation, might be being on the water, might be having a beautiful vessel, but it might just be that you want to be boating. Can you volunteer for the Coast Guard, for training in youth groups that are out on the water? Would that fulfill you? Do you want to get a job doing that? Fishing, working on cruise ships, cabin staff on vessels? Would that fulfill you? Or is it about needing the space and time, in which case we need to make the time? Maybe book holidays at the beach or on an island where you're there for a long time. Or create a space at home in your garden and maybe a soundproof room where you can just be in your own ambience. So some of this expression of who you are in the sharing in the community, but in the hobby space, is going to be about which piece of that you actually need, and could you take a step towards it, please? If you have been withdrawn or in your own energy a lot lately, you will be encouraged, which may look like your guide's giving you a bit of a kind of push towards the door. It doesn't need to be difficult. You don't need to go through a difficult feeling or a separation or feeling anxiety and loss to be pushed into reaching for community. You may just do it because you want to offer something. Go and help with a youth group or something like that. If it resonates. We're not meant to be putting ourselves where we're not meant to be. Everybody will be called to be where they're meant to be. But we still need to get out and do that. So a lot less of the reclusive energy will be, it's not in the vibration, so there's not going to be a lot of sign-off for that. Now, we're not of an era where our spirituality was done in the monasteries up in the mountains. There are very few people who have that existence in this lifetime. Most of us are meant to be doing it with these energy exchanges while holding our space and being ourselves and having a right to our energy and our space. So the overriding energy that I am seeing for next year is one of community. It's one of community rebuilding, but also reconnecting. So quite a lot of changes and evolution points for us in that. It is always positive because we're always here for the learning we have. And it is only ever given to us in a difficult version to highlight or to show us something that we are allowed to let go or move away from. So if you do find those moments in the year that you're finding quite difficult, or you're feeling that you're not getting where you want to be, or you're not feeling heard or seen, do something about that. Take an action. But first, have a wee look about what is the trigger. What do they want you to see or know? What is the release point they're offering you? And do something about it. Because there will be not a lot of wriggle room. Certainly no excuses for not doing what energetically does resonate with you. We're allowed choice. We're always allowed choice. But choosing to avoid a lesson or postpone it just makes it come back a little bit bigger. And nobody needs that anymore. We don't have to do this the hard way. Have a wonderful year. I hope you're able to stay in your heart space as much as you can, and anytime you can't, that you reach for space or support or grounding and be really gentle, honoring yourself and your journey and that of those around you. Thank you for spending time with me today. If you want more videos like this or access to my regular energy chats, meditations, and intuitive extension work, please go and have a look at my Patreon account, and I'll have the links for you below. I have my Just Do You annual subscription available if you want to be doing the course-based version, where you can work through your own empowerment and connection to your intuition, should that feel like that's going to be part of the solution for you. You have a year's access to the Just Do You seminar, courses, classes, meditations, extension events, and the energy information and sound bites that come through to me through channel and my own experiences working through energy here.